we are about to face some serious shortages. Particularly, our models predict that by 2033, we're going to be short about 10,000 registered nurses in the state. So that's almost 10% of the workforce. More importantly, we're going to be short about 5,000 licensed practical nurses. So licensed practical nurses are nurses who train in the community college system for about a year. And that actually represents a much larger chunk, over 20% of the LPN workforce we will be short. So in fact, even though the numbers for registered nurses look much larger, in terms of the sheer volume relative to the size of the current workforce, licensed practical nurses will be in major demand in the coming years. And where we're going to see the largest numeric shortages of registered nurses is not surprisingly in hospitals. Hospitals are a major employer of registered nurses. But we're going to see very strong growth for licensed practical nurses in assisted living and long-term care. And that's not surprising. That's predominantly where they are employed anyway. So those are two different types of labor markets. It was a very difficult time to look at the data and watch the stories, acutely feeling nurses who were in our front lines of treating COVID, and also over an incredibly long period, right? Looking back in March, we thought that this was going to be a sprint, that, okay, nurses, we just need you to sort of marshal yourselves and, get in there for 2 months or something. And it's, been 14 months of this, challenge for nurses. And we do see more nurse burnout. Recently, there was a very disturbing study about nurses, I think, being the highest health profession in terms of suicide rates. We developed this model on assumptions that in many ways no longer hold. So many things have changed. So will we see increased exits from the workforce because of burnout? Because the other factor to consider is that our economy is about to recover, and past evidence says that as the economy recovers, nurses work fewer hours or they exit the workforce. Because in general, their family unit has more money, so they could work fewer hours. So the interesting thing about the nursing workforce is it's always very flexible related to the economy. So if we see a sort of a tsunami of effects of burnout, retirement of the workforce, a recovering economy, we could really see our nursing supply tank in a way that we wouldn't have predicted going back 18 months or 2 years ago. So I think COVID will play an incredibly important role. I would say I'm fairly concerned about a decrease in supply related to the pandemic. The flip side of that is, and I don't know if you remember, post 9/11, there was a jump in the number of people wanting to become firefighters and police. The question was, what effect will we see on the nursing workforce? Will the fact that nurses and others are being hailed as heroes result in more nurses applying to nursing school? Or will they look at these stories that played in the New York Times and other places of nurses being the last one to hold people's hands as they were dying, and to have to repeatedly, day after day after day, be that only person by the bedside? And I still don't know which way it's going to play out, but we do see nationally an uptick in nursing enrollments, 6%. That is 6% in the baccalaureate prepared, but our community college system has told me they believe it will also play out in the community college system. So to be honest, I think these are countervailing forces that we're going to see. We may see a very large exit from the workforce, but we may see an uptick of new nurses coming in.